So in this video I'm going to run through roughly how much you need to budget for if you're coming over here to Mallorca on holiday this summer. So go and grab yourself a pen and paper, sit down, enjoy the video and take a note of roughly how much things cost over here. Okay, so I'm down here in Palma Nova. I'm on the far end of Escargador Beach. It's a very busy day down here, you can see lots of people on the sands. But I'm going to start talking about the cost of holidaying here in Mallorca this summer, and we're going to start off with the cost of meals. Now, of course, you can spend as little or as much as you like on meals over here on the island. However, for an absolute bare minimum for two people, I would budget at least €32. So that'd be about €16 each, and that's for a main course and a drink. Now, of course, you are going to find it cheaper on the island, and of course, you're definitely going to find it more expensive. But if you're just going out for a very basic meal and drink, then at least set aside around €16 per person. However, to be on the safe side, I would say really if you are going to go to a nice restaurant, maybe you want to have a starter, you want to have a main course and a dessert, then maybe put back around €30 per person per evening meal. And if you go for a seafood paella, then this is likely to cost you in the region of 18 to €25 per person. Same goes as well if you're eating in a really good seafood restaurant or high-end steak restaurant, you could be spending around 40 to €50 per person per meal. Now, lunchtime is going to cost you a little bit less over here. A lot of the restaurants do some really fantastic menu del dias, and these are set menus where you pay a fixed price. You normally get a starter, a main course and a dessert and maybe a drink as well. And I'm finding this summer for 2023 that a menu del dia cost is in the region of around 12 to €14. Now, of course, it depends on the restaurant as to what you're going to get for that menu del dia, but it's a really, really good way to get quite a big meal at lunchtime without paying the same prices that you would maybe pay on the evenings. So don't forget too, if you're travelling with children, then many restaurants will have a kids menu. These kids menus tend to be half the price of, say, a main meal, so you can normally get a kids meal in the region of around 8 to €10 approximately as well. Same with the menu del dia as well, you can get a cheaper offer as well, or maybe a kids menu as well, but children of course are going to eat a lot more cheaply over here on the island. Now, I have mentioned this in other videos as well, but if you are looking to come out to eat this summer, then of course make sure you do try and book a table before you come out, particularly in many of the very popular seafront restaurants, to guarantee yourselves a table. Make sure you check the menu as well before you turn up to that restaurant as well, so you don't get any nasty surprises. We have seen that costs here on the islands, just like the rest of the world, have gone up for 2023, pretty much like they have just about everywhere. I'm seeing maybe a 10 to 15% increase in costs upon last year, upon 2022 as well, so just account for that if you're coming over. Now, of course, if you are going out for lunch, you needn't spend money on a menu del dia. You needn't have those two or three courses if you're coming out for lunch. If you're looking at getting maybe a baguette and a drink and maybe a snack as well, you're going to get a baguette for in the region of around €4.50. Cans of drink as well in spa shops are around €1 as well, so you're going to look at spending around maybe €5 to €7 on a very cheap lunch. Also, if you're just coming off the beach to get a quick cheese toastie, I can see down here in Palma Nova, you're going to be spending in the region of around €3 to €3.50 for a cheese toastie in any of these restaurants here right behind Escargador Beach. Alternatively, if you are in many of the resorts, you do have a little supermarket quite close by. If you're really here on the budget, then pick up an empanada in their bakery for well under €1 as well, and maybe pick up a smoothie or a drink from Lidl as well, and you're going to get lunch for well under €2, so that's an absolute bargain. So really you can spend as much or as little as you like if you're here in Mallorca on holiday. Now, also where you are going to eat is going to affect how much you're going to pay for your meal. If you're going to be eating along any beachfront restaurant here, so maybe say down here in Palma Nova, where you're going to get a fabulous view of the beach and the sea, well, you can expect to pay just a little bit more. If you do go back a block and you go back maybe to some of the side streets, and this does apply to any of the resorts as well, then you're going to maybe find yourself a slightly cheaper meal. It's definitely worth shopping around if you're here on the budget. Same goes too if you're visiting any of the busy markets as well. So for example, up in Alcudia, if you're visiting the Alcudia market on a Tuesday or a Sunday and you want to pick up a drink or a bite to eat, well, those cafes and restaurants that are right in the market or right down beside the market may well cost just a little bit more than maybe if you just walked 5 minutes out of the centre of the marketplace and just found a slightly out of the way bar or restaurant. Now pretty much the same applies as well if you're buying drinks over here in Mallorca. If you're getting cocktails, then I've seen the going rate for a cocktail is in the region of €8, and that's normally from the beachside chiringuitos. If you do go and get a drink in a fancy beach bar or maybe a really upmarket restaurant, then you may be looking at much more to get a cocktail. So maybe you're going to be looking at say 10 to 15 or even €20 for a cocktail, depending on where you're deciding to drink. As a ballpark figure as well, if you're going to get a beer, it's in the region of around €3.50 approximately. If you're getting imported beers, then they're going to be a little bit more expensive too, because of course they cost more to actually get here. Jugs of sangria are in the region of around 15 to €20 as well. You're going to find in most of the bars around here too. Now we're just coming up to the Sunbeds rentals here over at Porto Novo Beach. As you can see, it's very busy down here today. It is a Sunday, so I can see that most of the sunbeds are taken. So how much are you going to need to budget for if you're going to be looking at getting a couple of sunbeds and a beach umbrella over here this summer in Mallorca? Well, you do need to go back and check some of my guides which I made earlier on in the season from May as well to get an idea of prices. But down here in Palma Nova, you're going to be paying about €13.50 for 2 sunbeds and a beach umbrella. So I'm looking at the price of umbrellas down here on Alcudia Beach. So for 2 sunbeds and 1 umbrella, we're looking at €13. For 1 umbrella and 1 sunbed, it's €6.50. The prices do vary wherever you are on the island, but if you are just writing out a budget, I would say maybe budget for around €15 per day for 2 sunbeds and a beach umbrella, just to give you a rough idea, but maybe add a little bit more in depending on where you're going to on the island. Now, if you're spending any kind of time on the beach, of course you're going to want to bring down some snacks with you, so make sure you set aside a budget for that. Now, all over the resorts as well, you're going to find these little spa shops, or you're going to find corner shops and mini marts as well, or small supermarkets. So these are great places to go and pick up things like buckets and spades, inflatables, or cold drinks as well to keep you going throughout the day. So I'm going to have a quick look across the road here in Palma Nova. We're going to see how much inflatables cost. We're going to see how much buckets and spades cost as well. Okay, so just having a quick look here, you can pick up a beach football here for €4.95. If you don't want to rent a sunbed, or maybe all the sunbeds and the beach umbrellas have gone from the beach, look, you can just grab your own sun umbrella here for €13.50. Beach chairs here are €45, so it may be another option as well. If you're staying here for maybe a 2-week holiday, maybe picking up one of these beach umbrellas and a couple of deck chairs may well be worth it. An average price for a bucket and spade set over here in Palma Nova is €7.95. And I can see a whole bunch of inflatables as well, so let's go and quickly check out the cost of those. Now I can see just a basic inflatable here is just under €8 here, and that's for a lilo. There are other shops that do the big inflatable animals as well that you can see. But if you're just getting a little rubber ring down here, or quite a big rubber ring or a donut, it is €14. Now also, maybe if you want to pick up some clothes down here too, or in any of the resorts, maybe you want to get yourself a new summer dress. Well, at this time of year, the further you go on into the summer, you're going to see the summer sales. Dresses can cost anything from around €15 to €25, or maybe a little bit more. Sandals, leather sandals are in the region of around €30, so you can expect to pay roughly €30 for some sandals. Also, make sure you keep back a few euros as well to come down and get some great souvenirs as well. All the resorts are packed with souvenir shops, so for example these lovely wall hangings here are around €15 if you want to take something back with you. All these resort shops are great places as well to come and pick up some handbags. You can see something like this is going to be €25. Little beach bags here are 15. Now I'm just come up to the pier here where you get the Britannia jet over here in Palma Nova. They have a boat trip here 3 times a day. But how much do you need to put back for excursions and boat trips this summer? Now for this year I'm finding that boat trips are costing in the region of around €50, and that's like a smaller boat trip as well. So something like the boat trip I went on recently with No Frills Excursions up in Alcudia. Go and check out that video if you haven't done so already. I shall link it in the description text below. But if I were you, budget around €50 for a boat trip. Now you are going to find cheaper, and by cheaper I mean maybe some of the catamaran cruises that you may find in the southwest of the island. They cost in the region of around €30 to €35. But it's not just boat trips that you can do over here if you're booking excursions as well. I've got plenty of excursions that you can find on my website on majorcaunderthesun.com. But check out the varying prices. You can get into Palma Cathedral if you're sightseeing around Palma for as little as €9. And there's also all sorts of other fantastic trips you can do. You can even just rent a paddleboard on the beach, so maybe down here in Palma Nova for just €10 an hour as well. And that's a particularly great activity to do, particularly if you've got family and friends with you. Water park tickets are in the region of €30 to €34 for an adult. If you want to check out the hidden costs in one of the island's biggest water parks, check out a video I made last summer, which I'll link to below this video. Now, regardless of how many of you are travelling over to the island this summer, I really recommend building in a really healthy ice cream budget, because you're going to need to survive on those with these really high 30-degree temperatures that we have this summer. Now, you're going to find that ice cream scoops cost from as little as €1.40, and that would be from, say, the boutique gelato ice cream shops that you find in many areas around the island. In some of the more artisan shops where you get the homemade ice cream, you're going to be paying in the region of around €3 to €3.50 a scoop. But don't forget, if you're just picking up something like a Solero or an ice lolly in those mini marts or spa shops, you're going to pay a lot less for those too. Now finally, I just want to talk about the cost of public transport over here. So if you're coming from the airport, then you can also jump onto the blue EMT bus into Palma at a cost of just €5. You can also get the red and yellow TIB buses to all the resorts as well, and that's going to cost you a lot less as well than a taxi. I do have a guide on my website. I'll put the link below as well with the timetables out to resorts, and you can figure out the approximate cost as well for your ticket. Okay, so just bear in mind as well, it may actually be worth getting a taxi if there's several of you travelling over and above getting the public buses. And the advantages are, of course, that you do not have to wait out in this heat for a bus if you do in fact get that taxi. So also worth considering. Okay, everyone, I hope you found this guide to budgeting for your holiday useful. I do have an article on my website on majorcaunderthesun.com, so go ahead and check that out for more information. If there's anything missing from this guide as well, just let me know in comments below, and maybe I can get back to you with the price. I'll see how I do. But in the meantime, if you're hoping to come over to Mallorca, then please consider subscribing to my channel for all the latest holiday news, travel tips, travel guides and live streams to from resorts. Okay everyone, thanks very much for watching. You can find me in the Facebook group and on my Instagram, also called Mallorca Under the Sun. And from here in Palma Nova, I look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Goodbye for now.